Introduction. A moment everyone celebrates. The baby let out its first cry. The whole room lit up. Flowers were brought in. Congratulations rang out. Mother and child are both well. Congratulations. You're a mother now. Everyone smiled. Everyone believed this was the happiest moment in a woman's life. The mother lay there. Her body still trembled, the pain not yet subsided. Her hands held her child, but inside was an emptiness difficult to name. It wasn't that she didn't love her child. It's just that the emotions didn't come as people usually describe. There were no fireworks, no overwhelming joy, just exhaustion, and a profound silence. She heard the people around her talking about the child's future. She heard the plans, the expectations, the words of encouragement. But no one asked the mother, "Are you okay?" In the moment the whole world was welcoming a new life, the mother began to lose herself. There were nameless sorrows, there were tears that fell without her understanding why, and there were silent questions that arose. Why don't I feel as happy as everyone says? From that moment on, the postpartum journey was not just about diapers, milk, and lullabies. It was also a very lonely journey that very few people saw. Image suggestion video, opening video. Postpartum shock, when things aren't as expected. No one told me that, after giving birth, everything could fall apart so quickly. I had imagined the first days of motherhood to be very different. Perhaps tiring, but happy. Perhaps confusing, but full of love. No one prepared me for the feeling of emptiness. My body had just weathered a storm. Hormones changed abruptly, sleep was disrupted, and the pains still lingered. But the most unpleasant thing wasn't in my body, it was in my mind. There were mornings when I woke up and didn't recognize myself. The mirror reflected a strange face, tired, with dark circles, lacking the familiar light. I looked at it and wondered, where have I gone? The joy of motherhood, something everyone says will come naturally, didn't appear as promised. Instead, there was constant anxiety. Anxiety about not doing things right. Anxiety about the baby crying because of me. Anxiety that every decision could be a mistake. I love you, my child. But I'm also afraid. Afraid I'm not good enough. Afraid I'm not worthy of this role. And deeper down, there's a fear I dare not name. What if I'm not happy as a mother? No one says that maternal love sometimes needs time to grow. Society only talks about the sacred moments, but remains silent about the long sleepless nights, the cries that break a mother's heart, and the feeling of helplessness when you don't know what to do except cry along with your child. There are times when I hold my child in my arms, but feel like I'm standing outside of my own life. Everything happened regularly. Breastfeeding, changing diapers, rocking to sleep like a machine. And the mother's feelings were pushed aside, because no one had time to ask. She started comparing herself to other mothers. On social media, they laughed, they shared happy moments, they seemed perfectly fine. But she wasn't, and so guilt crept into her thoughts. I must have a problem. But the truth is, she didn't have a problem. She was just going through a huge shock *, the transition from an independent person ** to a mother with immense responsibility, with no pause button. That shock wasn't just biological. It was a silent loss. ***, a loss of time for herself, a loss of freedom, a loss of feeling prioritized. And a loss of her old self. The most heartbreaking thing wasn't that she was tired, but it's that mom thinks she has to hide it. She tries to act okay. She tries to smile when other people are around. She tries to hold back her tears for fear of being called weak. But postpartum shock isn't a sign of failure. It's a very human reaction to a change that's too big, too fast. And if there's one thing mom needs to hear right now, it's this: you're not wrong to feel that way. Invisible pressure. Mothers must be strong. After giving birth, no one directly tells the mother, from now on, you must be strong. No specific request is needed. Just through glances, words, and the expectations of others, the mother gradually understands that weakness is no longer welcome. You should be happy now that you have a child. Others can manage to have several children. Keep going. That's what being a mother is like. These words aren't malicious. They are spoken with concern, even encouragement. But for a mother who is feeling lost, They are like a reminder that she is not allowed to be tired. The mother begins to learn how to hide, hiding her confusion with a smile, hiding her tears with the familiar answer, "I'm fine." No one saw the times my mother went into the bathroom just to sit down and catch her breath. No one knew the nights she lay staring at the ceiling, her heart heavy. Because a good mother, in everyone's eyes, is someone who knows how to endure. The pressure doesn't just come from family. It comes from society, from the image of the mother who is capable, self-sacrificing, always loving her children unconditionally. A beautiful role model, but too perfect to be the real person. My mother looked at that role model and compared herself to it, wondering why she hadn't been able to do it, blaming herself for not being as strong as people expected. And then she fell silent. Silent when she felt exhausted. Silent when she no longer recognized her own emotions. Silent because she was afraid that if she spoke out, she would be labeled weak, negative, not thinking of her child. There were times when I thought, if I can't bear it, does that mean I'm incompetent? But the truth is, no one can be strong continuously without rest. No one can keep giving forever when they are completely exhausted. This invisible pressure made me believe that loving my child means forgetting myself. Sacrifice is necessary, and pain must be endured in silence. But being strong doesn't mean not crying. Being strong doesn't mean always being okay. And being a mother doesn't mean losing the right to be weak. What makes many mothers break down is not because they lack strength, but because they are not allowed to admit that they are tired. If someone had ever told me, "You are allowed to be tired. You are allowed to be not okay. You don't need to prove anything," perhaps the burden would have been much lighter. Mothers don't need extra pressure to be better. They need to be seen, listened to, and loved as a person, not just as a role. Loneliness in one's own home. There's a strange kind of loneliness. It's when you're not alone at all. The house after childbirth is always full of people. There's the sound of a baby crying. There are footsteps, instructions, and questions. But the mother feels absent. She's there, but no one really sees her. All the questions revolve around the baby. Has the baby eaten? Is the baby sleeping well? Is the baby crying a lot? And what about me? Am I tired? Am I okay? Those questions gradually disappear, as if, after giving birth, the mother's feelings no longer matter. She begins to live in a silent loop. Day after day, night after night. Time isn't measured in hours, but in feedings, diaper changes, and cries. There were afternoons when I looked out the window and suddenly realized I hadn't truly spoken to anyone all day. Not just instructions, not just polite pleasantries, but a conversation where I could be myself. My spouse might be there. My family might be there. But the distance still remains. Because it's so hard to explain this feeling. How can I say, I'm sad, even without a clear reason? I feel lost, even in my own home. I'm afraid that if I speak out, I'll be misunderstood. Afraid of being asked, "You have children, why are you still sad?" Afraid of making others worry. Afraid of becoming a burden. So I chose silence. Silence when I realized I was no longer the same person I used to be. Silence descends as I realize the outside world continues, while my own life shrinks within four walls. I miss the feeling of being able to go outside without rushing. I miss the uninterrupted conversations. I miss being called by my name, not just the baby's mother. The loneliest thing is when I feel like I no longer belong to myself. All my personal needs are put aside. All my private emotions are suppressed. And then there are those small, but painful moments. When I sit eating alone, when I hold my baby in a dark room, when I realize I haven't been hugged all day. It's not that I need anything grand. I just need someone to ask, "How are you today?" And to truly hear the answer. Postpartum loneliness isn't because I lack companionship. It's because I lack connection. I lack the feeling of being understood. Lack of space to be a complete person, not just a role. And this happens to so many mothers. It's just that no one talks about it. Because loneliness, once it becomes a familiar part of life, is often very well hidden. When silence becomes a cry for help, a mother's silence doesn't come instantly. It builds up little by little. At first, she just thought, everything will be all right. Tiredness is normal. Sadness is temporary. Just a little more effort. But time passed, and the heavy feeling didn't disappear. She started speaking less, not because she had nothing to say, but because she didn't know where to begin. And she was afraid that if she spoke, no one would understand. There were questions she had practiced in her head, but then swallowed back down. Am I okay? Do I need help? These questions sounded simple, but for her at this moment, they were too difficult to utter. Silence became a shield. She hides her exhaustion. She hides her confusion. She hides even the tears that fall quickly when no one is watching. She's afraid of being judged. Afraid of being seen as weak. Afraid of being told, you have to put up with it as a mother. So she chooses to endure in silence. She still does everything that needs to be done. She still takes care of her children. She still wakes up early and stays up late. She still smiles when people ask about her. But inside, she's gradually becoming exhausted. There are days when she doesn't know what she's feeling anymore. Not exactly sad. Neither is she exactly empty. Just a prolonged weariness, making everything feel heavier than usual. Silence is no longer an option. It becomes a reflex. She's silent when she feels more irritable. Silent when she no longer has the patience she once had. Silence when guilt arises, because I should have been happy. And then the silence begins to speak for her, with very small, but very real signs. A tired gaze, a long pause between answers, a sigh for no reason, an evening spent sitting in the dark for a long time. That's not weakness. It's how her body and mind are saying, I'm overwhelmed. Many mothers don't realize that too much silence can deepen sadness. Not because they aren't trying, but because they've been trying alone for too long. What she needs right now isn't advice, not empty words of encouragement. She needs to be listened to without correction, without comparison, without being told to think more positively. All it takes is a safe space to say, I'm tired. I'm not okay, and to be met with understanding. When the silence is broken, not by coercion, but by gentleness, that's when the journey of recovery can begin. Not every mother is ready to speak right away, but every mother deserves to be heard, even if they don't know what to say. The truth needs to be told. There are truths that, if not spoken at the right time, will become a burden that mothers carry for a long time. The first truth: not every mother feels happy right after giving birth. And that doesn't make you a bad mother. Society has told too many beautiful stories about the explosive maternal love from the very first moment, about the overwhelming feeling of love when holding your child in your arms. Those stories are true, but they are not everyone's story. For many mothers, love needs time to grow. Like a new relationship, it needs to be nurtured in a safe environment, with rest and understanding. Not feeling the joy you expect doesn't mean you lack love. It just means you're exhausted. Second truth: postpartum depression is not a personal failure. It doesn't stem from weakness. It's not because you didn't try hard enough. And it's certainly not because you don't know how to be a mother. After childbirth, the body and mind undergo massive changes. Sleep is disrupted. Hormones fluctuate. The pressure of responsibility increases suddenly. All of that can make anyone feel overwhelmed. If you're feeling persistently tired, sad for no apparent reason, or so empty that you no longer recognize yourself, it's not your fault. It's a signal that needs to be listened to. Third truth: mothers don't need to be strong all the time. We often confuse being strong with suffering. Being strong isn't about not crying. It's not about always being okay. And it's not about shouldering everything yourself. Being strong sometimes means daring to admit, I'm tired. I need help. I can't do this alone. Fourth truth: seeking support doesn't make you weaker. It makes you safer. Many mothers delay speaking up for fear of being judged, fear of being misunderstood, fear of being labeled. But timely support can be the line between continuing to suffer in silence and beginning to recover. Being listened to doesn't make you dependent. It helps you stand up again. The final truth, and the most important one: you are still a human being before you are a mother. You have feelings. You have limits. You have the right to be tired, to be sad, to need help. Motherhood doesn't mean sacrificing your entire self. A mother who receives proper care is more likely to care for her child. Speaking these truths is not meant to make anyone feel weak, but to remind you that you are not alone, and what you are going through is real. A small light. When a mother is allowed to admit she's tired. Light doesn't come with a big turn. It often starts very small. Sometimes, it's just a moment when a mother allows herself to stop. Not trying to pretend to be okay. Not forcing herself to be happy. Just admitting, honestly, I'm tired. That statement sounds simple, but for a mother who is used to enduring in silence, it's a very courageous step. Because admitting tiredness means giving up the cloak of having to be strong. It means allowing herself to be human with limits, needs, and emotions. When a mother says it, strange things can happen. Not everything immediately becomes easy. But the burden in my chest lightened a little, as if I no longer had to bear that weariness alone. Sometimes a small light comes from a single person. Someone who doesn't rush to offer advice. Doesn't ask why, just listens. It could be a partner, a relative, a friend, or a stranger safe enough that I don't have to be defensive. Just one sentence. Thank you for speaking up. You don't have to bear this alone. You're allowed to be tired. Those words don't solve the problem, but they create space for me to breathe. A small light can also be a very modest change. A more restful night's sleep, even if only for one night. A meal eaten slowly. A morning spent outside breathing, not for any particular reason, just to exist. When I allow myself to accept support, I don't become weaker. I'm protecting myself. Recovery isn't about returning to the old version of myself. It's about learning to live with the new version with more gentleness for myself. There are days when I'm still tired, still sad, still feeling lost, but the difference is, I no longer believe I have to hide it. The small light doesn't instantly dispel the darkness. It's just enough for me to see the next step. And that's enough for today. Acknowledging my fatigue doesn't diminish my role as a mother. It helps me stay longer on this journey, without being worn down. And perhaps most importantly, when I allow myself to be vulnerable, I'm teaching you a very profound lesson that people don't need to be perfect to be loved. That light is small, but it's true, and it started the moment Mom no longer had to fight alone. A message to the mother WHO is silently breaking down. If you're watching these final moments, perhaps you're carrying a deep weariness within you. A weariness that's hard to name, and hard to share with anyone. Maybe you're taking care of your children every day, still doing everything that needs to be done, still smiling when people ask how you are. But inside, you're slowly breaking down very quietly. I want to tell you one thing clearly: you're not broken. You're not weak, and you haven't failed in your role as a mother. You're just a person who has gone through too many changes in too short a time, and hasn't had time to be embraced, rested, or listened to. If you can't be strong today, that's okay. If you can't be happy yet, there's nothing to be ashamed of. You don't need to overcome everything right now. Just stay, take a few more breaths. And remember, there are other mothers out there who have also sat in the darkness just like you. There will come a day when you will not only exist to care for others, but also to live again as yourself slowly, without rushing, without having to prove anything. And if today you only have the strength to listen this far, then that is already enough.